excited. Hey, Alan, welcome to the
Hey,
podcast.
what's
I'm here with Allan Howard. I am so excited. This is finally happening, Alan.
up? It's only been about a year,
I
so
mean,
you're so
we've been
busy.
trying for a while. No, you're so busy. Well, we're both Howards, so we got things to do. We got things to do.
I
Well,
love it.
I'm excited to introduce you to the audience. I mean, I know you well. Ellen and I are not related, but we are like family. So I met Alan when I was in Seattle, which was, gosh, four or
About
5 years ago at
five,
this.
5, 6 years ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And besides the fact that we both share the same last name, we've connected on many different levels. Alan is originally from Chicago. Um, him and his wife and family are just absolute amazing human beings and are doing some great work in the areas of community and small business building. So I will not do any of your introduction justice. So I'm going to bounce to you, Alan. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what impact you're looking to make on the world.
Oh my goodness. First of all, thank you for just being you. Like honestly, I guess an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here. Like you said at the top of the show here is we've been trying to get this together for a while, and just a pleasure and honor. And so yeah, I mean, my name is Allan Howard II, and I think you kind of summed it there. We've known each other for almost 6 years, and when we first met, it was just like,
Hmm.
first of all, the last name. I'm like, well, I don't know too many Howards. We tried to figure out, are we related in any way, and we found out that that's not the case. And so, that was, first of all, that was an epic beginning to our friendship there, and now here we are. Um, but no, I mean, my journey started back in Chicago in the '80s, and so some of the work that I'm doing now is I'm working with clients. I'm a certified life coach, and so my wife and I, we have an in-home STEAM-based academy, bite-sized academy, and so we work together in these realms. I do a little bit of coaching. She does social emotional learning. Just for simplifications, I don't want to downplay it, but she does a lot more than that. Um, but we started off just not knowing kind of what direction we wanted to go down, and I've always had this passion for really helping people and wanting to just understand kind of what makes people tick and how can they win with the right mindset. And so my journey started oof, back in Chicago, and I don't know if how deep we want to get just yet, but I'll talk more about my story there. But started there, and then I came out to Seattle. Worked for a couple of companies for about 15 plus years and did some work there, engineering work, um, electrical engineering work, and then I also did some corporate kind of coaching, which I fell in love with, and I think that's when I started to go down this path of, well, what else is there besides just engineering widgets or building aircraft or just being in the tech space, and so started down this road of self discovery, and got certified last year as a Jay Shetty certified life coach, and um, I'm sure we'll get into more of the story, but that's kind of where I think culture and just mindset started for me. And that's kind of what I'm on now, this journey of really trying to help people win. Meaning we don't have all the tools when we're born to understand kind of the psychology of what we're born into. Maybe our parents. There's so many things that happens when you're born into an environment that you're not familiar with, and so I had to learn some of those skills as I kind of made my way out of Chicago. But the to answer your question about the work that I'm doing, the impact that I'm trying to create now is I'm realizing that a lot of people grow up without just an understanding of where they want to go, directions, or just the tools to cope with some of the life situations that they might be born into. And as I've gone through my journey and my path, I realized, okay, I need to first of all be an example of what's possible. I can't expect somebody to just give me things. I have to go out and try to understand, what the needs are of not only myself, but my family. And so I went down this path of self discovery and just realized there's a lot of black and brown people that don't have access to just mindfulness principles, mindfulness practices, just healthier ways of living. And so that really intrigued me. And I got really interested in, okay, how do I get this information? How do I learn about the things that I didn't know? And then how do I package that in a way, and how do I give it back to my community in a way that's fun, that's practical, that's not um, like a personal aggrandizement of who I am, right? It's just more of a,
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving it back in an organic way. And so using some of the 15 plus years of corporate experience, now paired with my certified coaching, I try to come with a holistic view, and we help our community in that way and our families the best way we can with all the information that we have now. And, just trying to be an example of what's possible, honestly, because once again, everybody's not born with the same amount of resources or the same amount of understanding. So that's what's
Mm.
intrigued me, the mind and how people operate and make decisions. So just really want to get deeper into that work and understand so I can, just help people in those arenas.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I know the business that you all have, the academy. I'd love to hear just more about that and how that's connected, because I think you and your family, you and your wife in particular, who are running the business, but also you have your coaching practice.
Yeah.
So you're kind of hitting different systems with your work collectively. So tell us more about the academy, because I think that is a really important piece to the story.
No, absolutely. I can't start this story without giving my wife just the utmost credit. Like, she deserves her roses and flowers, because it all culminated from her own internal idea. We wanted to start a reading center. I think that's where it
Mm,
really started. When we first met, I knew that she was the one. I would give her flowers right in this on this platform,
mm,
because I don't think I would be where I'm at right now if we didn't go down this journey of, okay, we see some gaps, we see some things that just our community is struggling with. And my wife,
mm,
we had I want to say it was 2010 really, and we sat down and we had dinner, and she was like, babe, I'm just seeing, our black and brown kids struggle, with reading. And I'm like, because this is something that we don't talk about, unfortunately, as a society, of how if kids are not really reading at a third grade level, by third grade, it's really hard to even be successful. And I don't
mm,
have the stats in front of me, but it's pretty staggering,
mm,
especially when it comes to our black and brown children. It's like, how do we set them up for success? And so when she told me that, it really intrigued me. I said, oh, I didn't even think about that. And she said, I just really want to help, our young kids succeed. And for me, I'm on this journey of trying to help in general, but I'm in corporate at the time, and I'm
mm,
seeing all these big companies, they're just throwing money, at these causes, which I don't judge, I get it, but I'm like, well, why are we not talking about reading? Why are we not talking about literacy, whether it be financial literacy or just reading and writing in general, right? Like, how do we get to that level of everybody has the same privilege to be able to learn or be taught this stuff, right? And so when she
mm,
when she said that to me initially, in my mind, I was like, okay, you can go to these other reading centers. What's going to be different, right? And as we started to play with the idea over the next, I would say, 5 or 6 years, we started to realize, okay, I'm doing things that, people are asking for more coaching, they're asking for more of our advice. I'm liking this more than I'm liking my 9 to 5, right? I love to help.
mm.
It's direct impact. And so we literally just over dinner one night, we just said, wouldn't it be crazy? Wouldn't it be crazy if we just started our own thing? And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna look into that. And so literally that night, she went and got. She's a licensed childcare professional as well. So
Mm,
she started in that realm, and we started to go down this realm of childcare. And
mm,
literally, as we're putting this business plan together, which, shout out, you need a good team. I'm just gonna be real. You need a
mm,
good team, because it's really hard to start something on your own, but the idea has to come from somewhere. The vision has to come from somewhere. But
mhm.
we've had a good slew of people around us. Obviously, Lady Howard here,
Aw.
um, and I'm saying, and we were able to see that need over and over and over. And we just said, you know what, let's just do it. Like, let's just start it. And 2017, 2018, she got her professional certification there, and that was the culmination of that. But it started out of a need, right? That we kept
Mm.
seeing that our kids were not being taught science of reading, like really how to sound out words, how to, phonetically understand it, and phonics, things like that, where I was just like, oh, I know how to read. I remember being taught how to read, but I didn't understand the journey until I reflected back, right,
Mm.
on how I was taught. And from that, we said, okay, well, how would it look, right? We're
Mhm.
visualizing, we're using some of these techniques that I've learned before I learned about coaching,
Mhm.
visualizing what would it look like if we started something together. Maybe I bring some of the skills that I love to the table, and
Mhm.
you bring some of your skills to the table. And that was kind of how it started. But to bring it together, we didn't understand what we didn't understand as far as how do you build it, like your vision, but how do you build it in a way that's going to be sustainable, that's going to be representative, representative,
Mhm.
a representation of
Mhm.
the culture that you want to see, right? And how do you model
Yeah.
that? And so that is something that we had to really learn and had some hard lessons from just corporate. And that's not the way to model it, right? After a corporation, model it after your own ideals and principles. And that's kind of,
Mm.
there's been this 5-year journey of discovery, rediscovery, try it
Mm.
again, right? And it's been this beautiful mixture of her spirit, her perspective, my spirit, my perspective, and this constant learning curve that we have. And once again, I'm thankful for you being here and giving us these tools to learn about culture and learn about, how do we set ourselves up from the start to
Mhm.
be successful, right? And not try to change as 5 or 6 years down the line. You're already setting your ways at that point. So how do you really intentionally say, I want this culture to be about this or about that,
Mm.
and really do that? That's where I really appreciate this opportunity to share this story with you and your audience, because I don't think we have a lot of these Genesis stories where
Mhm.
companies are being built or people have ideas of how they want to come show up in the world, and it does start with the mindset of, it's not just about me, it's about how do I set not only myself now, my future self up, my future family,
Mhm.
my future community. How do we do that? And I think if that's at the forefront of your mind, then I think the quality of your decisions will be that much crisper. And
Mm.
yeah, that's where we are with it. So
Yeah, and I mean, what you're talking about, which is really, it's really kind of hit me here as we're talking about this together, is we're kind of redefining the playbook.
mm,
I think many of the businesses, many of the large businesses, even small businesses, tech startups, are built on, I would just say, a maybe traditional paradigm around how a business is supposed to be built.
yeah,
It's not focused on community and culture. It might be focused more on profits and shareholders.
yeah,
And so, there's all these models of business. I'm sure people who've gotten their MBAs have learned about these different models, but are these models incorporating things like equity,
yeah,
like community, like sustainability of an organizational culture? I
yeah,
think that's where people like you who are building businesses with those things in mind and kind of redefining the playbook, which I'm very excited about, because now that you have your coaching certification, you could scale that and you could
yeah.
talk to other socially conscious business owners who want to do something similar to create kind of this new wave of business and values around business.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I thank you for that segue to how literally I was seeing these things as I was working in corporate, and I'm like,
Mm,
why are we saying these things? But I don't see the consistent action, and I'm not blaming anybody, right? I'm just like, okay, I see these initiatives get rolled out,
mm,
and it's just my own my own journey, but I didn't see a lot of the continuous action behind it, and it was just it wasn't like it was a kick in the face. It was just like, okay, well, if this is really where the priority is, like, how do we honor that? How do we show that and model that, right? Because you have to model it from top down, I believe. Like, I can't, as a leader, right? I can't just say, you need to be able to do this, this, and this, and then I'm out here wilding out. And I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not living the values that I'm asking the people that I work with. I don't even like to say people that work for me. We work together as a team,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just might have this quote unquote title of leader, but we're all leaders, right? And I just didn't see that type of consistency. And it was just like, man, is it me? Like, and so
Mm.
I think that right there, like you said it was, I was longing for something, for acceptance in a place where maybe that wasn't ingratiated into the culture. It was just more of do this, go home, do this, go home. And for me, I wanted to build something not only for the particular businesses I was working for at the time, but I wanted to build something for my family, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if half of me is feeling great about what I'm doing, I go home and I'm feeling excited about being able to bring a revenue home, right? Resources. But then I
Mm-hmm.
go to the place where I'm getting these resources from, or I'm spending, 10-hour days, 11-hour days. I just wasn't as fulfilled as I was actually talking to my clients, talking to my community members and asking them directly, hey, what are you seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing was just I don't feel seen. I don't feel that where I'm working, and these are my clients I'm talking to, just
Mm-hmm.
they're asking me for advice. Like, you seem happy, you seem like you got it all together. And I'm like, yo, don't no, this is daily work, man. Like, I get up like, okay, I know I'm gonna go into this place. I'm gonna be met with some resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can show up how I need to show up, or I can show up how I want to show up, which is I'm there to make sure that I bring the best energy I can, and I'm representing my family in the best way. And so I took that and I said, okay, if I can't get this in this particular place, then we have to create that, and that is
Mm-hmm.
scary. That is super scary. Um, but 5 years later, here we are, right? Like, I mean, we were talking about this what 4 or 5 years ago, right? Just sitting on
Mm-hmm.
the pier there and having a conversation with your lovely husband, who's one of my best friends, right? Like, it's just
Mm-hmm.
like you can't make that up. Like, that genuineness, that genuineness of people really trying to help. Like, you gravitate to each other. Like, that gravitas is there, and I wasn't getting that, honestly, in some of the cultures that I was lending my skills to, and it just didn't seem right to sit there and put energy down a pit that you weren't getting any return on investment in. And
Yeah.
and I'm just enjoying being here with you now to see the fruits of your labor as well, and your stick to itness,
Mm-hmm.
and your journey of trying to understand how do we impact culture. And I have a question, if you don't mind. I know this is
Yeah,
your
please.
show.
No, throw the question my way. I love it.
um, like, how did you know like you were in the right, or you were moving into the right space for you? Because I
Mm.
know your journey was very interesting, and it still continues to have this super amazing arc, which I'm proud to have seen. Like I said, the genesis of this. Like, how did you know like you were moving in that direction for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of goes back. You talk about us sitting on the pier in Seattle. So, Alan, myself, his wife, my husband, were the great duo. I think in Seattle, we'd hang out. We didn't hang out enough because we ended up moving, but we would just kind of sit at the pier and talk and visualize. And I think taking myself back to that place, I was in a position where, similar to what you mentioned, which was I was hearing all of this talk and beautiful language about change, but I wasn't seeing the action.
Mm,
And it was very clear to me what the path was. I know how humans work. I have a background in psychology. I use concepts from things like anthropology, from neuroscience, like all these very
yeah.
like specific human conditions that tell us how humans behave.
Yep.
I'm no mind reader. Like, I'm not saying that I am, but I know about human behavior, and I know how people feel recognized or dignified, or and all those things can drive action.
Yes.
So I felt like I had the formula, and I was just being buffered over and over again.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
voice wasn't being amplified. I was in positions where I didn't have a seat at the table. You know, I was saying things that were challenging and scary for executives to hear. Again, because they built their business in a very specific structural way, and I'm telling them to break that shit, basically. You know, and it's like, that's
Right.
scary. That's scary.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, so I kind of felt like I had the formula, and you know, when we moved back to Chicago, COVID hit right afterwards, and it was scary for all of us.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I asked myself, like, if I'm not going to do this, when am I going
Yeah.
to do it? Like, I cannot be kind of in this place of stagnation anymore. You know, we are at this pivot point. Like, you can feel the tectonic shift happening under
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely.
So do I want to like be a part of that change, or do I just want to continue to operate in a system that's not really aligned to what I'm looking to build? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was really the epiphany. You know, Norris, my husband, was a huge proponent of that, so I will also give him props here, because having a member of, you know, a partnership say, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to leave my job and do this thing that is like, there's no guarantee that it's going to be
Yes.
successful. It
Ab-
takes a lot of trust, as you know.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I would love to hear more about that from your perspective too. Like, how did that, I mean, it sounds like you all had that like conversation together, and it like came together really beautifully, but
No,
uh
we didn't. That's
oh no.
no, we didn't. That's
Okay.
so that's a cool caveat. No, I think it just because of the way my wife is wired. Like she's just like if she has an idea, like she's just gonna go do it, and I admire that so much about her. And I think where I bring the extra layer of accountability is I'm just gonna ask a question of, okay, have we considered this, right? Like
Mm,
that's it. Like I'm not trying to tell her like you don't need to do that. Like why are you doing this? It sounds crazy. No, that's not. I've learned that lesson. That's not that's not me, right? No,
smart man,
but
smart
in
man.
jest, no, but this I've learned that lesson. Like I've realized that she has her way. She's gonna, and that's great. That's a beautiful quality. I know for me, like I'm not reserved. I'm impromptu, right? Like I love extemporaneous
Mm,
stuff, but I
mm-hmm,
also like to have a little bit of structure, right? Like I like to know, okay, Tuesday at 11, we're going to sit down and
mm-hmm,
chat. Like whatever happens after that is it's all good. But I like to kind of know. And she was
mm-hmm.
just like, you know what? I'm just starting. I was like, oh, okay. When? Like in a couple of weeks, she's like, nope. I made a few calls and I'm getting ready to be certified as a child care specialist because that's where it started. And then it
Mm.
morphed into the academy where, I came in and lended my skills. But she's like, no, no, I'm just gonna. I was like, oh, okay. How can I support you? And so it was but the conversations though, I think because this is so new to both of us, right? Like I had started a business before. Oh God, back in 2005, it was a data entry business. I did some
Mm.
like freelance work before it was cool, right? Like, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't. But the freedom that I got from that, it never left me because I was able to do my own schedule, my own hours, which is of course beautiful. What people don't see the other side of that is that the behind the scenes stuff that happens. You got to get up and, pardon me if you hear that noise in the back. You got to
You're
get
good.
up and, at odd hours maybe to field calls, or you have to, support your clients or your community in a different way. And I was like, okay, I know this is going to be difficult. We've never done it before. Nobody in our family has done this before.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they couldn't, it's just they chose different choices. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that in itself caused a little bit of anxiety, as you can imagine, right? Like this is something new. She left what she knew and said, "Okay, I'll trust that you're at this time. I'm still working. I'm bringing home the bacon, if you will." And and so she's like, "All right, I trust that you're gonna get up and go do this job that maybe you don't have your full heart in it, but
Mm.
the benefits of going to work and doing the work, bringing back the resources. Now it's going to allow us to start this business and then allow us to break free from that, like you said, that old paradigm of you have to
Mm-hmm.
work a 9 to 5 to be successful, or you must work for this big company to be successful. No. And I can say there was some tension. I think a
Mm.
lot of people don't want to talk about some of that stuff that happens especially when you're a partner with a partner, right? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
this is a family business, right? Or we're leaning it towards it being a family business, but it also means that there's personalities and conflicts that come up that maybe once again you don't have all the tools to be able to manage some of these conflicts, or some of the imposter syndrome that comes with, oh, I'm doing this, the way society wants me to do it, or am I doing it the way that I really want to do it, and in a way that's indicative of who I am, and that stuff nobody teaches you that stuff, right?
Mm.
Um, and I'm saying for me, I can tell you exactly on my journey when I said, okay, I want to go back and become a life coach. I want to understand not only for myself, like some of these tools that I didn't, I wasn't afforded, not because people didn't try to help, but we weren't talking about mindfulness, in the 80s,
Mm.
90s, at least in the black community, in the brown communities. We
Mm-hmm.
weren't talking about, unfortunately, these things that were taboo. We're talking about culture, right? Like, what does that look
Mm-hmm.
like? Setting people up for success, and taking ego out of all of that decisions, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna do it because I think it's the right thing, but I'm also gonna do it because it's gonna prop me up, and that's never the way to give something, right? And I promise you, I didn't have this awareness when we first started out on this journey. It was like we just want to do something, and it's like, okay, go.
Mm.
Resources be damned, right? We didn't have any social media at the time. We didn't have really any idea. It was just like, we know we don't want to be stagnant, like you said, right? We don't want to just sit here and squander the gifts, that God
Mm-hmm.
has given us. And in his daily work, like you working with your partner every day, like you said, that trust,
Mm-hmm.
that you had in Norris, right? That trust that you have in, yourself, that he has in you, right? That comes with a daily dose of, hey, I'm scared, man. Are
Mm.
you feeling scared? Yes. Okay. Huh. It's not just me, right? And now we can have this vulnerable conversation of how do we go forward together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that you gave me that idea, honestly, like I want to bring it back full circle to what just in general corporate culture and just business culture. If we're not thinking about long term things, you're gonna get short term gains, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it, right? But long term gains is how do you sustain this ideal, this principle of do no harm, right? Like that has to be, I think for us, that's the first part. When we serve our clients in our community, we're looking at it from how do we serve them, right? We're not how do we serve ourselves first. That's the
Right.
ancillary benefit. We're gonna get the revenue, whatever that is, right? The reputation, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
coming in. How can I serve you, right? How can I serve them?
Mm-hmm.
How can we serve each other? And then I think that is the paradigm shift that we're seeing out here, and I hope that it's becoming a lot more prevalent. Of I can't give you what I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't have that peace of mind, or that vision of a better life for myself, a better life for my family, a better life for the people that I serve, then there's no way that I can exude that in my day to day life, right? Or my day to day dealings. And that is I think that's the nuance that we're missing, unfortunately, um,
Mm.
as people are building businesses, or companies are starting to shift. They realize that you got to be a little bit more nuanced than just general and cookie cutterish or canned, right? Like it's no
Mm-hmm.
canned type of social responsibility, right? Other than do no harm, right? Just go out there and
Mm-hmm.
try to bring value versus take the value, right? I think
Mm.
that's what I'm seeing. People are realizing that I can't just be out here just taking and expecting to receive as well. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a whole different, again, a whole different view of what it means to build a business and a platform. And
yeah,
um, so, if folks wanted to work with you, because I think there's a lot of different fronts that I'm hearing around your expertise. You've built a business that's centered around social impact. I think your definition of leadership and how that's a responsibility and how we can instill some of those values, or even, I think about family owned businesses. That is
yeah,
something that I think that generational handing down businesses, wealth, all of that, I think is a really important factor to start to think about for our communities,
Yes.
because I nothing was handed down to me or you, right? We're starting here. We're
Exactly.
starting here and trying
Exactly.
to create the future. So how can people work with you? What's the best way? How where can people reach out to you? Give us all the
Oh,
details.
that's fair. That's fair. And I try to be super transparent, because somebody's on their journey right now, starting or trying to start with maybe just an idea, right? I literally just I have my IG. I've had that for 6 years, but I never used it. I was just like, technology, smology, right? I'm a big tech proponent, which is weird. Like it's such an oxymoron. Like I love tech, but I know that you can get sucked into it if you're not diligent
Mm.
about it. And so I literally have just revamped my social media. So if people want to reach out to me, honestly, we can talk Calendly. I'll leave my Calendly link
Mm-hmm.
in the show notes and things of that nature. But IG, you can check me out at Seance, SayAHNCE, and that's a whole other podcast if you want to talk about where that name came from. That's back when I was doing some of my MC work, and
Nice.
yeah, I used to dabble a little bit, and I think I would love to tell the listeners a little bit more of my background, because I think
Mm-hmm.
people get to us this notion of you just started here, and I'm
Mm.
like, there's a whole slew of jobs, a whole slew of, I guess, certifications that we can talk about. But I think I like to preface that by saying I have an electrical engineering degree at Illinois Institute of Technology. Ended up
Mm-hmm.
getting the master certification in project management, Stevens Institute. I ended up having my integrated business acquisition process. I'm certified in that. I'm also a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt,
Mm.
certified life coach through the J Shetty Certification
Mm-hmm.
School. And I'm working on now. I'm getting ready to go back and get my MBA. I'm looking at that in the next fall. I want to go back for psychology, actually,
Oh,
and do yeah,
nice.
like critical thinking and decision making.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very interested in how people make decisions and the quality of decisions, how that affects your lives. And so, bringing all of this, literally
Mm-hmm.
all of this together, that is what has happened over these last 4 years. Is taking all these skills and putting it into my coaching practice, putting it into our academy, and really taking a holistic approach to how we solve problems, not just in corporate America or
Mm-hmm.
business, but life problems. So taking all of this, literally 20 years of experience, and bringing it to my clients, to my community, to my family. That is the work, right? And that is what we do at Bite Size Academy. And Bite Size Coaching and Consulting is our subsidiary of that. So yeah, I mean, I like people to know who they're dealing with, right? It's not because we can laugh and joke. We love to be as professional as we are, fun. So that I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the caveat for those that don't know us or see us when we have our
Mm-hmm.
banter and our behind the scenes stuff. But it's always been a spirit of uplifting each other, a spirit of just being there for each other. I think that's what first of all, it inspired me to even do my own podcast. I think you were a really big proponent in that, seeing you were not
Thank
just
you.
talking about it. You were like, look, I'm going to go do it. And that is
Mm-hmm.
inspirational. So I want to at least let you know you inspired me to continue down this journey of self discovery and just being an example of what's possible. So um, just honored, honestly, to be able to have this conversation with you and do it this way because I know we have a lot of conversations and some of those are epic conversations. I was
We
like,
should
man,
just
this
click
was
record every time we
yeah.
talk, and
We might have to do that, honestly. They're gonna be like, man,
I
we get
think
tired of seeing this guy on the screen,
every other
But
week. You can
yeah,
just become a co-host. I love it.
don't tempt me with a good time. I'm there. Like just
I
let me
love it.
know. I
Hmm.
will do it. So hey, I'm down.
I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, Allan, you've been a great just support system, hype man, friend, family, all the things. So Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time. There's never enough
Absolutely.
time to get through all the things we want to get through, but I feel like we've covered a lot of ground. If you all want to work with Allan, we'll be sure to include some information in the show notes so you can reach him, learn more about the academy and the coaching and consulting practice. And we'll see you soon, Allan.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You are just a light of the world. I'm gonna tell you,
Oh my
literally,
gosh, stop. I'm gonna have you on
you
every
are.
podcast episode just to hype me up. Oh.
I'm just gonna tell you the fact. Like that's my claim to fame. Like I'm not out here just blowing smoke. Like it's literally every time we get to hang out together. Like it's literally like just a beautiful experience. Like we never walked away feeling like oh, that was okay. Like it's always like man, that's something to think about. Like literally, it's always inspirational. I think that's the nuance, right? When you really walk in your gifts and you really accept who you are and who you're becoming, and you don't
Mm,
resist that, right? I think that's what's happening. And companies and coaches are they're just putting things out to just make money. It's like, no, you got to know your personnel in and out, like, and then that's when
mm,
you get the maximum value, not only for you, but for your business and your culture.
mm,
It's so I'm excited because I know that there's always going to be work to do here, and I think people are really
mm-hmm.
starting to get it and just not take themselves so seriously. I think we get so uptight, like when things don't go right or they're not going the way that they should. So if I could leave with one thing, just hey, just don't take yourself so seriously, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like that's part of the
Mm.
process of learning and growing. So yeah.
I appreciate you, Alan. I'm sure we'll have you back on the podcast again, but thank you, thank you, thank you.